Aloha and welcome to the Embodied Healing Self podcast with your host, Jen Mons. Each week, join me for soul-inspired, conscious conversations around embodied healing and awakening to your soul's purpose. Thank you for listening in. Aloha, my soul family. Thank you for joining me again this week for another episode on the Embodied Healing Self. I have a special invitation to share with you this week. Many of you know that I love living in alignment with the moon cycles, and particularly the new moon cycle, which is a wonderful opportunity to set new intentions and create change and to alchemize what we want to call into our lives. And for the new moon in Scorpio, November 13th and 14th, I will be hosting my first virtual retreat. After canceling 2 retreats, one in Costa Rica and one at the Kashi Ashram this year, and also my live event, Illuminate, I surrendered to the idea of hosting a online virtual retreat. So I welcome you and invite you to this deep dive and discovery into shadow work. Together, we're going to explore wounding around the divine feminine and masculine. We're going to transmute our fears, our blocks, our limiting beliefs that are on the subconscious energetic level to our gifts, to our gold, our truth, our essence. We're going to do this through a 6-step activation, which is to awaken, align, attune, amplify, and alchemize. I have a wonderful group of guest teachers that will be a part of this retreat. We will experience everything from the shadows to the fear to the celebration together, so that by the end of the weekend, you will set yourself free and be liberated from anything that you feel is holding you back. It is our time to fully embody our own awakened healer and our own soul wisdom. And so for you listeners on the show, I invite you to join me for this Inner Radiance retreat. It's going to be experiential. There will be movement and partner shares and connection and learning and celebration and transmuting and peeling back the layers of subconscious beliefs and fears and looking right into the shadow and transmuting it into your gold, into your essence, into your greatest gift. So if you're ready and you're looking for that connection that has been such a vital part of everyone who is thriving right now, then we invite you to join your soul tribe at the Inner Radiance virtual retreat, November 13th and 14th. Check the link in the show notes or go to jenmons.com/Inner Radiance Workshop, and we'll see you then. Aloha and welcome back to this week's episode of the Embodied Healing Self. So this week, we're going to dive in a little bit deeper into our relationship with abundance and the balance of giving and receiving. So over the past month, I've been leading a group called The Healing Frequency, where we've been diving deep into journaling around different areas of our life. And one of the topics is around abundance. We have a 35-day journaling experience on our relationship with abundance around health, wealth, and love. Because how we show up in one relationship with our life is how we show up in most relationships with our life. How we do things one way is often how we do things, how we do everything. And because this is true around our belief about how we show up in our life, it's just reflected back to us through different relationships. So whatever that primary belief is that we have about ourselves and the way that we show up is reflected back to us either through money, through health, through connections, through love, through our work. And it most of the time comes down to our own self-worth. That's what abundance really is. So this week, we're going to dive into that relationship. And I want to invite you to consider for a moment the visualization that I shared in our group that came to me is the spring that is naturally bubbling from the earth. It just keeps giving. Where does that water come from? It just keeps giving water to the earth, to anybody who comes to drink from her. And so notice in nature, there are so many trees and plants that have everything they need naturally from the earth to thrive. To thrive, not just to survive, but to thrive. So it all comes down to 4 things that whether you're a plant, an animal, or a human, we all need to thrive in that natural state of being, which is abundance. Abundance is a state of being whose true source, I believe, comes from the heart. It's a feeling of being, not doing. It's a feeling of freedom, contentment, vitality, knowing that we have everything that we need in that moment, and that we are content, we are free, we are happy, and we are unconditionally loved, just like in the moment that we were created. So the 4 things that every living being on this planet needs to thrive in their relationship with abundance are light, water, nourishment, and love. So I invite you to consider in this moment, it's so easy for us to see in nature the plants that get light from the sun, water from the rain, from the earth, nourishment from the soil, and love out of creation. And where can we see this in our own lives? And how is it showing up? So when we talk about light, we are talking about receiving life force energy. We know that we are energetic light beings. We're talking about that relationship with Source, the creator of all things. Whatever that is for you, whether it's God, a divine source of love, unity consciousness, Mama Earth, Mama Gaia. It's the belief that there's a source greater than us providing for us and that we are all connected. That's what that light energy is. We can receive light energy from the sun. Vitamin D, it's good for our health. We can receive light by the people that we surround ourselves with. The people that fill us up. We can receive light from our own inner being, the source of who we are, our connection to God, to grace, to Source, allowing that light to flow through us, in us, within us. The second form of energy that we need to thrive in abundance is water. If you think about water for a second, water is the one thing that we can't go too many days without. We can go days without food, but not water. So, water and our relationship with water and how we replenish ourselves with water is a reflection of how we're taking care of ourselves. And if you go deeper on a cellular level, there's actually
the ability for our individual cells to either receive water or not. There's actually like the integrity of our cells that helps us to stay hydrated. You'll notice some people need more water than others, or you might notice that you might need more water if you're feeling busy or overwhelmed or stressed, because water is life. It flows through us, it nourishes us, it replenishes us, it replenishes the earth, so we can receive through water by just drinking water. It is the one thing that we cannot survive without. There are Buddhist monks who can go a long time without food, but they cannot go without water. And then the way that we stay in the balance of giving and receiving or letting go, is that water can cleanse us. So water can cleanse our energy, our emotions. It's very cleansing, very healing. So the third thing that we all need is nourishment. We can think about the way that we nourish ourselves, our relationship with how we nourish ourselves, with nourishing foods. When you look at nature, it's getting plants and trees are receiving nourishment from the earth. They have the sun, they have light, they have water, and they have nourishment. And so I invite you to consider, how do you nourish yourself? What foods are you choosing? How do you feel when you eat these foods? Are you receiving the nutritional value of the food? Are you in a place of being relaxed enough to actually receive the energy of the food? I talked about this in one of my recent episodes on how the energy body can burn food up before you actually receive it and assimilate it and turn it into fuel for energy if you are too busy or if you're not present while you're eating. So it's not just the food that we choose to nourish ourselves with. Like, you think about the value of and the nutritional value of something that you grew from a garden and all the love that was put into that, the flavor, the nutrients, to be able to eat something freshly picked compared to, say, just going through McDonald's drive-thru where, you don't even know what you're really probably getting in some of the fast food places. So think about the comparison and the difference of the nutritional value between the two, but then also your state of being when you're nourishing yourself. If you're relaxed and present, then the food has the opportunity to go through the body as it needs to, so that it can be turned into fuel for the body, so that it can be properly absorbed, assimilated for nourishment, for fuel for the body. If you're sitting down to eat, if you're eating on the go and you're shoving food in very quickly, your body's not going to have the same opportunity to receive the food and to use it as nourishment for the body. So not only the types of food, but our state of being when we eat, and noticing, how do you use food in your life? Does it comfort you? Do you self-sabotage with it? Do you self-love with it? Do you overly self-love with it? Do you not eat enough? Is there scarcity? Is there abundance? Right? This is just another reflection of how we receive nourishment in our life. And then fourth is love. This is the giving and the receiving and exchange of relationships with the people in our life. So how are you giving and receiving? Are you over-giving? Are you tired, overwhelmed, and exhausted? Are you allowing yourself to receive? Are you allowing yourself to receive nourishment, light, love, and water? And how do you allow yourself to receive love? How deep do you go in your relationships? I know there are people that have an abundance of a quantity in relationships, but not a quality or a depth in relationships. So what is abundance to you? Is it the quality or the quantity of your food, your water, your relationships, your light? And how does this show up in your relationships? How is this reflected back to you? Is there balance in your relationships? Are you equally supported? Are you receiving? And abundance is all about the sacral chakra. The sacral chakra is creativity, it's abundance, it's joy. And so when we can open up to receive, we open up our sacral chakra. We are in the flow of giving and receiving. And if you want to know what your values are, and if you're in alignment with your values in the giving and the receiving, look at your schedule, look at your calendar, look at how you spend your money. Those two tangible things right there will show you what you truly value. And if it's not in alignment with your values, then I would invite you to do some restructuring. Your exchange of energy through time and money are going to show you what your values are. It's going to allow you to give and receive and thrive in your choosing of your state of abundance. So when we talk about relationships, the deepest level of love and abundance is intimacy. Into me, I see. So the depth and the quality of your relationship and how much you're willing to give and receive, which for most of us, the opportunity is in the receiving of love through vulnerability. Allowing yourself to be fully seen and loved, vulnerably, even in your shadow. And sometimes it's easier to just reject self, reject others, reject the truth of who we are, or reject a relationship that's willing to see us in that way. So I just invite you to consider where in your life, which relationship is showing you an opportunity for abundance, an opportunity to receive more life, force, energy, an opportunity to thrive more. Is it through nourishment of food or water? Is it through your light, your relationships, your connection? Is it through love of self, of others? And notice the depth of the relationship within each of these. That shows you where you are on sort of the fountain of abundance, the spring of abundance, the well that keeps giving. How much are you receiving? How much are you allowing yourself to be replenished? Which relationship is showing you an opportunity to open up and receive more? Just imagine like open hands with everything that you seek and desire and are worthy of. And at the very seed of this willingness, this courage to give and receive in our life, all boils down to our belief around our self-worth. For most of us, whether we're drinking enough water, allowing ourselves to cleanse, nourishing ourselves with the right foods, standing in our own light, or surrounding ourselves with deep quality connections, allowing ourselves to be supported, to be seen, to have intimate relationships with people in our life. It comes down to knowing our own worthiness to be loved in all of that. That's what it comes down to. And the willingness and the courage to move through the fear of vulnerability and to be seen. Because when you can free yourself from that fear, you have nothing to fear. That is the freedom. That is the contentment. That is the abundance. And in that space of energy, you start to receive in all areas of life. You receive health, well-being, connection, love, money, all of it. So I invite you today to just consider which of these 4 areas are you willing to explore your relationship with an area that you'd like to receive more in your life? How have you in the past maybe blocked yourself from receiving in these areas? And what are you willing to do today moving forward differently? What are you willing to receive? And how will you celebrate? I'd love to hear from you. You can join our Facebook group, the Embodied Healing and Empowered Living Collective, to share. The Embodied Healing and Empowered Living community. Come on over and share any curious insights that come up for you. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you guys next week.
Hello, friends, and thank you so much for joining me today and being a part of this community. I know there are many other podcasts that you could be tuning into, and I am deeply honored that you chose to listen in and be present with me today. I love and cherish and appreciate you, and I want to invite you to join our tribe and Facebook group under jenmons.com/connect. I would also love to gift you your guide to discovering and overcoming the self-limiting beliefs standing in the way of you living in optimal health, more energy, fulfillment, and self-confidence to create an embodied, healthy, whole you. You can find this at jenmons.com/tribe. I also have one small request to help spread the love. In order for this podcast to show up in the feed of social media platforms of other like-minded people, we need reviews. So please head on over to jenmons.com/podcast to leave a review. You will also find other inspiring episodes on that page. So I personally read these reviews weekly and would love to give you a shout out and share your kind words with our listeners. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook as Jen Mons or The Holistic Coach with the W Holistic and Jen Mons, JenMons.com. Thank you so much and have an amazing day. Aloha.